Hi guys, well today we're going to be taking a look at our very first partner card for the new NVIDIA GTX 1060. So this here is the MSI GTX 1060 Gaming X, and I'm sure you're already aware that the 1060 has made a huge impact to the mid-range, and it is going to be the go-to graphics card for 1080p gaming. The Gaming X here takes all of the good things about the 1060. It applies a decent overclock to the GPU and the memory, and it arrives with the custom cooling. Gaming X is furnished with MSI's renowned twin Vortez heatsink, which is now in its 6th installment, so we should hopefully be able to take advantage of low temperatures and low noise. Gaming X also benefits from MSI's traditional component selection using high C caps, super ferrite chokes and Japanese solid caps. So how much does this card cost? Well, you can expect to pick it up for just shy of the £300 mark in the UK. Over in the US it is around $280. This is by no means the cheapest 1060 that you can get your hands on, as the starting price really for the custom models is around £230, $250. However, with that twin Vortez 6 heatsink, it's probably going to outshine other coolers on the market, and this card does also come with the 3 years of warranty, which is a nice perk. So stick with us guys as we check out this card in plenty of detail, having a look at all the features and then having a look at the gaming benchmarks at the end. Okay, as always, we're going to start with the unboxing experience for our Gaming X. So as you can see, here is the packaging, really nice and pristine from MSI. And of course this is a custom card, so the big emphasis really is on the twin Vortez 6, and we get a nice depiction of that card on the front there. Over on the back we have more details on the features. So we've got the LED lighting, which comes courtesy of the gaming app, where you can modify those colours, and then we've got more details there on the twin Vortez 6, and then we've got the technical details at the bottom here, including those minimum specifications. And inside we have this box here, which I'll just show you. First of all, we get an envelope, a cardboard envelope. Underneath that we have the foam padding and the card in an anti-static bag, and inside this envelope here we have the bundled accessories. Now there are only a few items here, but I'll just go through them. First of all, we get the thank you and to register your card. Obviously that will give you your warranty, and we've got the quick user guide here. So if you're unfamiliar with installing a graphics card, perhaps it's your first time, you need a few tips, a bit of advice, then that is a good thing to kind of refer to. We've also got the stickers if that is your thing. We've got the driver CD that has all the utilities, and just to mention, with this particular card we get 2 years license for XSplit, and that includes either the Gamecaster or Broadcaster, so that is 24 months license, which is pretty good really. If you're into streaming or even recording games, then that should be right up your street. Okay, and here is the GTX 1060 Gaming X. So we know that the GTX 1060 is a mid-range card, but after MSI has done their magic, it looks rather like a flagship product. That cooler there is a standout feature, and along with the construction and the aesthetics, it looks rather impressive. Now that cooler is of course MSI's twin Vortez 6. Twin Vortez is perhaps one of the most well-known GPU solutions, and it has always provided us with good results. And we'll have a look at that cooler and the internal components later on when we remove that heatsink. So externally we have a plastic shroud which bears that aggressive styling, and the design of this card is such that it is a lot wider and spread out than it is tall. Now, not wanting to miss out on the RGB lighting, MSI has equipped Gaming X to make use of the RGB LEDs. You can modify the colours, the animation effects there by using the MSI Gaming app. Now this card is significantly bigger than the NVIDIA's Founders Edition, and you can see the difference there side by side. So let's do a quick measurement now, as this will help you understand the size of the card and whether or not your system can accommodate it. So for the length, Gaming X is round about 275mm. For the width, you're looking at 127mm, and then the height is 40mm. So by MSI spreading things out, the height doesn't end up taking up unnecessary space. Now this card is from MSI's Gaming X line, and as such it receives a factory overclock. So the base clock is set at 1594, and that boosts up to 1809 MHz, and the memory clock operates at 8.1 gigabit. So both the GPU and the memory speeds have been modified, and this will give us a slight increase there in the performance in-game over the Founders. And the other things to note is that this card does come with 6 gig of GDDR5. It is PCI Express 3.0 compliant, DirectX 12 ready, and supports OpenGL 4.5. So Gaming X will occupy 2 spaces on your board and case, which isn't all that uncommon nowadays. And on this back panel here we have quite a selection of different ports to use. So we have one dual link DVI-D giving you up to 3K, triple DisplayPort 1.4s, those give you up to 8K at 60Hz, and we also have one HDMI 2.0 and that offers 4K at 60Hz. So either the HDMI or DisplayPorts are the best ones to use, DisplayPort obviously offering you the higher resolution if you need it. Now the Founders Edition of 1060 requires a 400 watt power supply and it arrives with a single 6-pin connection. With Gaming X the same spec power supply is required, so 400 watt, but we need an 8-pin connection for the power delivery, perhaps giving you the extra juice there to overclock even more. Now if you're not familiar with the 1060, there are no SLI ports on these cards, so the Gaming X isn't able to team up with another card unfortunately. Now over on the reverse of the card we have a large metal backplate which protects the PCB from getting scratched or from flexing. And MSI has been careful to provide some ventilation there for the backside of those VRMs so that heat can escape. Right guys, well we've gone ahead, we've taken the cooler off our Gaming X and this is the Twin Frozer 6 design. MSI are claiming that this 6th installment here is better than the previous in terms of the thermals and noise. On the top side we have these double Torx 2.0 cooling fans. These fans have a steeper curve which should accelerate the airflow according to MSI. And we'll have a look at the peak GPU temperature later on just to see how effective this technique really is. And those fans sit on top of this large heatsink which uses 8mm copper heat pipes, and these heat pipes connect to a nickel plated copper base plate. Having taken the cooler off we can also check out the PCB. Now if you've seen our video of the Founders 1060 then you'll know that straight away this PCB here is significantly larger than the reference design. So the Gaming X uses a 6-phase power design which is all digital, and there are high C caps, super far right chokes, Japanese solid caps used throughout this board to minimise the coil whine and to provide us with those nice and stable overclocks. So the driving force behind our 1060 is the NVIDIA GP106. That uses a 16nm process and is based on the new Pascal architecture, and MSI has applied around about 100 MHz overclock to that GPU and has nudged up the memory too, so that should help there with the performance. And next we're going to do some quick benchmarks with our Gaming X to give you guys a bit of an idea of how this performs next to the Founders Edition. So for the games, we're going to be using Dirt Rally, The Witcher 3, Hitman, Thief, Star Wars Battlefront and Doom. And for each of these games, we're going to stick with 1080p for the resolution and we'll use Ultra for the detail presets. Now for other benchmarks and resolutions, head over to the full review. And while we do check out these games guys, we're also going to have GPU-Z running in the background to pick up on the max GPU temperature. So we'll jump out of our last game for that, that's Doom, and have a listen also to those cooling fans under load. Okay, so let's begin. Okay, and we are still in game, and here's what you can expect from the noise levels. And if we just come out of Doom, we can have a look at the peak GPU temperature, which as you can see is 65 degrees. That is between 7 to 10 degrees lower than the reference design. So that in a nutshell is the 1060 Gaming X, and compared to the reference, the Founders Edition, this MSI card here is definitely worth the extra cost, at £20 extra, and around the same in the dollars. And I say that because it nudges the clock speeds up somewhat from the reference settings, which may not be excessive by any means, but there is still the headroom beyond what MSI has applied, so you can nudge those up even more. You can apply another further overclock to those frequencies. But I think what will draw people to this particular card is the TwinFrozer 6, that cooling solution, which is extremely quiet, and compared to the Founders Edition, it will drop the GPU temperature down by up to around 10 degrees. And one thing I think which is quite impressive with this cooler is that the design doesn't lend itself to being a triple slot solution, because MSI has kind of spread that heatsink out. And also the length means that it will fit in most cases, which is always a bonus, always a good thing. Now, if you are looking for a 1060, you can't go far wrong with this one, to be honest, and especially since you do get that nice generous 3 years of warranty. Now, in our 1060 Founders video, which we uploaded recently, we had a lot of comments really about the gameplay footage, the quality of it, and the objective really in our video was to kind of focus on the frame rate over the image quality. But we did take on board what everyone had to say, and we certainly agreed that we needed to do something about this. In the past, we've filmed the screen to avoid interference with the frame rate drops and such, but we decided it was about time that we needed to kind of embrace a game capture device. And so a big thanks to Razer for supporting us with this new Ripsaw game capture device. It's made our life so much more easier, and on your side it's probably going to give you a lot more accurate results in terms of the footage. So that's great, and I hope you do enjoy this new upgrade that we've done. We will be uploading that, re-uploading that 1060 versus the 480 very soon with that new footage, so keep a lookout for that. Now guys, as always, the full review for this MSI card here is going to be on the screen in the description very soon. Head over there for even more benchmarks, more analysis, and if we manage to squeeze out an overclock on top of the factory one. So that's all from me today, guys. Hope you did enjoy it. Thanks for taking the time out to watch, and a big thanks also for taking us up to 19,000 subs. Really do appreciate all the support you give. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you guys in the next video.